There's something almost no one realizes. Your cat can look at you every day, sleep in the same house, eat the food put in its bowl, and still not truly trust you. And the worst part, this usually happens silently, without dramatic meows, without obvious signs. Just a strange distance growing little by little within your own home. Because affection doesn't mean connection. Expensive toys don't mean security. And readily available food definitely doesn't mean bonding. Some cats seem cold, distant, antisocial. But perhaps the story is different. Maybe they've just stopped trying to feel safe around people. The behavior changes slowly, almost imperceptibly. First, they avoid contact. Then they walk right past. Then they observe from afar with that fixed, almost indecipherable gaze, as if something had been lost along the way. And the most unsettling thing about all this, often the problem isn't with the cat. There's an almost invisible detail capable of completely changing the relationship between a cat and a human. A small change, simple, almost ridiculously easy, but it alters behavior, approach, and trust in a surprising way. Cats constantly give silent signals, small tests, discrete responses that almost no one learns to perceive. And today we'll show you 5 things that can transform how a cat sees those who live with it. The last one, especially, usually changes everything. The ground changes everything. There's a detail in feline behavior that many people ignore. Cats are predators, but they are also prey. Their bodies were built to survive by constantly observing threats. Sudden movements, heavy steps, arms coming from above, objects crossing their field of vision. All of this activates micro-alerts in the animal's brain. Feline behavior specialists explain that many signs of aggression or distance actually begin with fear and a feeling of insecurity. Now imagine the scene from the cat's point of view. A huge human crosses the hallway quickly, stares intently, tries to pick up the cat without warning, and even invades the space where it was resting. It seems like affection to us. To the cat, it can feel like pressure. That's why so many cats change completely when a person sits on the floor and reduces their presence. The atmosphere slows down, the threat disappears, and then that silent ritual begins. The cat observes from afar, approaches slowly, sniffs the hand, circles the body, as if deciding if it has finally found a safe place. And there's an almost emotional aspect to all of this. Cats don't build trust through dominance. They build it through choice. When a cat climbs onto your lap of its own accord, rests its head on your hand, or lies down nearby without being called, it's not automatic. It's a test being passed, an extremely vigilant animal lowering its guard for a few seconds. Perhaps that's why so many people find cats mysterious. Because unlike other animals, they rarely beg for connection. They observe first, they feel first, and only then do they decide to stay. The secret places that make a cat disconnect from the world. There's an invisible map on a cat's body that almost no one learns to read. It's not about petting just anywhere, but about regions that activate a deep state of neurological security. Research in feline behavior shows that areas like the chin, cheeks, and base of the ear are rich in scent glands, used by the cat to mark trust and belonging. When these regions are touched gently, the brain interprets it as a safe interaction within its own territory. What appears to be mere affection is, in practice, a kind of acceptance ritual. The cat reduces its vigilance, its muscles relax, and its eyes begin to blink slowly. A behavior known as slow blink, often described by experts as a sign of comfort and absence of threat. In many cases, the body enters a state of near suspension, slower breathing, head tilting slightly, and minimal movements. This is not random. It is the nervous system switching off alert mode. But there's a crucial detail that almost no one notices. The difference isn't just in the location of the touch, but in its quality. Quick, unpredictable, or insistent movements activate microstress, even in sensitive areas. Constant, light, and predictable touch, on the other hand, reinforces the feeling of security. In situations of high trust, some cats may even salivate slightly or knead with their paws. Behaviors linked to deep relaxation and emotional memory of comfort. It's at this point that the cat isn't just being touched, it is, for a moment, shutting off the world around it. Your cat listens to emotions, not words. There's an invisible layer to communication between humans and cats that doesn't involve words, but rather emotional patterns. Studies in feline ethology indicate that cats are extremely sensitive to variations in tone of voice, rhythm, and intensity, reacting more to how something is said than to the content itself. This happens because the cat's brain prioritizes environmental awareness and safety, filtering out sounds as potential threats or signs of stability. Therefore, loud, fast, or inconsistent voices can be interpreted as unpredictable, while soft and steady tones tend to reduce alertness. This nonverbal processing also explains why cats respond better to short, repetitive interactions. A simple call said calmly, and always in the same pattern, creates predictability. And predictability is synonymous with safety for an animal that evolved as both a solitary hunter and potential prey. Research on domestic behavior shows that cats can differentiate human emotional tone even without understanding specific words, associating positive or negative experiences with how they are treated vocally. Over time, this consistency creates a kind of shared language. The cat doesn't understand long sentences or explanations, but recognizes recurring emotional patterns, Safi approach, absence of threat, and behavioral stability. This is why many cats respond more frequently when the human reduces vocal exaggerations and adopts more predictable communication. Ultimately, it's not a traditional conversation. It's a fine-tuning between two systems trying to interpret safety in the same space. When the cat truly begins to trust, feeding a cat by hand seems simple. But for a cat, it completely changes how they see you. It's not just about food. It's about a sense of security. When the food comes directly from your hand, the cat perceives something different. This presence here doesn't threaten me while I eat. And that's very important, because eating is one of the most vulnerable moments for an animal. At first, many cats are wary. They approach slowly, sniff your hand, look around as if checking if everything is safe. This isn't rejection, it's natural caution. But when this scene repeats itself a few times, the brain begins to relax. What once seemed strange becomes routine. And routine, for a cat, means safety. Over time, something curious happens. The cat no longer sees you just as the one who puts food in the bowl. He begins to recognize you as part of his safe environment. This appears in small details. He comes closer on his own, no longer runs immediately, sometimes even waits for your presence before eating. It's not magic, it's repetition building trust. And most importantly, it doesn't have to be all the time, nor does it have to be at every meal. Small moments can make a big difference. A treat now and then, offered calmly, is enough for the cat to start associating you with something positive and stable. In the feline world, consistency is worth more than intensity. If you found this interesting so far, don't miss what comes next. Because most people ignore this kind of detail and continue making mistakes with their own cat without even realizing it. So leave a like now. Share with someone who insists on saying that cats are cold, and comment on which of these parts has already changed your perspective. Because this isn't just curiosity. It can completely change the way your cat sees you. When the cat needs to win the hunt. Playing with a cat isn't just about moving a toy around. In their mind, it's a complete story. But many people unknowingly leave that story unfinished. The cat runs, jumps, tries to catch it, and the toy simply disappears or keeps escaping. To us, it seems fun. To the cat, it seems like a never-ending chase. And that makes a difference because his instinct doesn't understand, almost caught it. Either he captures it, or he's left with that strange feeling of energy in his body without closure. It's like you start a task and nobody lets you finish. He remains active, somewhat agitated, sometimes even walking around the house for no clear reason. Now comes the simple part that changes everything. Letting him win. Letting him hold the toy, bite it, pull it, feel like he's won. Actually, that moment, his body changes instantly. He stops running, breathes more slowly, and simply switches off the chase. It's not laziness. It's pure satisfaction. And this explains a lot of things happening inside the house. Cats that are constantly irritated, running around at night, or suddenly attacking, are often not acting strangely. They're just full of pent-up hunting energy. When playtime has a real beginning, middle, and end, the cat doesn't get stuck in that state. It returns to a calm mode, as if its mind has finally understood it's over. It worked. Everything is all right now. Conclusion: cats aren't animals that ask for connection the way we expect. They don't arrive making a fuss. They don't force contact. They don't insist. They test the environment in silence. A lingering gaze, a cautious step, an approach that may stop midway if something seems strange. And that's precisely why so many people think cats are distant, when in reality, they're just observing before trusting. There's an important detail here for a cat. Safety comes before any display of affection. This means that it may enjoy your presence and still keep its distance for a while. It's not a contradiction, it's instinct. It's constantly reading subtle cues, the way you move, the tone of your voice, even how much you respect its space. When all of this seems predictable, it starts to get closer. And the change doesn't happen dramatically. It appears in simple details. A cat that used to stay in the corner starts to move around the room. Then it lies down nearby. Then it comes close without being called. And when that happens, it's not luck. It's built small, repeated habits, creating trust without pressure. In the end, understanding a cat isn't about controlling behavior, but about learning to be someone with whom it doesn't need to defend itself all the time.